What if video games weren't just an escape, but a mirror into your soul? I'm 26 years old and I've been playing video games for pretty much the majority of my life. But it wasn't until recently that I truly started to explore single player experiences. And honestly, I should have made that jump a lot sooner. These games that I experienced didn't just entertain me, they slowed me down. They made me feel things that I didn't expect from a controller in my hand. Grief, growth, reflection, and some of them stuck with me long after the credits rolled. Not because of flashy moments or cool things that happen in the game, but because they quietly said something true about me and about a lot of you guys who are watching this video. The more I played, the more I realized I wasn't just looking for fun from the medium anymore. I was searching for meaning. Stories that hit in a way that real life sometimes just can't or doesn't. Games that didn't just fill up my time, but shifted my perspective on life. They brought back my love for gaming, but they did more than that. They changed the way that I see the world. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a couple of games that shifted my perspective on life and things that I've learned that will stick with me for the rest of my days. So first up, we have Expedition 33, and this game completely caught me off guard. It was one of the games that I was extremely looking forward to, but I didn't think it would hit and be as deep as the game actually was. Not just because of how the game looks, but because of what it says and the things that are happening throughout the game. It was developed by a small group of indie devs out in France, and it dives headfirst into some really heavy themes. Stuff like grief, memory, denial, having a purpose in life. It's the kind of thing that sticks with you way after you finish the game. Now, I know grief isn't the first thing most people will look for when they boot up a video about Expedition 33, but stick with me here. A couple of years ago, there was this game called Grease that came out. It was beautifully animated in the game that was praised for how it tackled the stages of grief. It was quiet, artistic, emotional, and for a while, it was the gold standard of how games can handle these kind of themes without it being preachy. But honestly, Expedition 33 deserves to be in that same conversation. It may be even leading it after its release. What makes Expedition 33 hit different is how it layers the concept of grief across its entire world. From the opening moments, you're dropped into a society that's been broken by the inevitable death. Every year, anyone who reaches the age on the mysterious monolith just dies. There's no questions, there's no cures. It's been happening for 67 years straight. And what you see is a population stuck between fear and resignation. People have stopped having children. They don't build futures anymore. And that alone said so much about how grief isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just a slow, quiet collapse of hope. It's like this question the game keeps asking you throughout. How would you live your life if you knew the exact date you'll die? And more importantly, would you actually still live it? There's this early moment in the game that really stuck with me. A conversation between Gustav and his sister. They're standing on the dock of the city that still sends out expeditions every single year, even though every single expedition so far has failed. No one has came back, and yet they still try every year. It's like hope and futility wrapped into one swift decision. That scene made me stop and just sit with it for a minute, because it's not just about fighting for some evil force. It's about why we keep moving forward even when the odds feel meaningless. They know there's no shot to go and kill the painters, yet they do this every single year. The real heart of Expedition 33 lies with Maëlle. Her story is raw. After losing her brother in a fire and suffering some devastating injuries herself, she enters a world, literally a painting, trying to feel whole again. It's a metaphor, but it's also not, because how many of us escape into something, anything, just to avoid sitting with our pain? For some people, it could be work. For others, it's just a pure distraction. But for Maëlle, it's this beautifully painted world that her brother painted before he died. This offers her an illusion of peace. And that's what I love about this game. It doesn't preach to you all these different themes. It doesn't tell you that grief is bad or that escapism is wrong. It just shows you. It shows you people avoiding their pain, pushing it down and trying to cover it up with pure distractions. And slowly you watch how the avoidance starts to fracture everything around them. By the time you reach the end of the game, you're left with this brutal choice. Do you let Verso erase the painting, essentially ending everything inside of it? Or do you let Maëlle stay in denial, lost in a life that feels real, but truly isn't? That moment hits hard, because it's not about right or wrong. It's about acceptance, about finally facing what you've been avoiding. That hit me in a way I didn't expect from a video game. It made me think about all the times in my own life where I've put things off, conversations, decisions, even just acknowledging something I wasn't ready to deal with. And Expedition 33 doesn't force you to confront that fact, but it just invites you to think about it gently but powerfully, and through some of the most emotionally resonant storytelling I've seen in years. So yeah, this isn't just a small gem with a cool art style. It's a game about living your life, about what it means to keep going when everything around you says it's pointless, about how grief isn't something you conquer, it's something you carry, something you learn to move with rather than around. If you ever felt stuck, numb, or just tired of everything in your life, Expedition 33 might hit you in the chest the same way it did for me. Not in a depressing way, but in that weird, beautiful way where you finish something and just kind of sit there. You think about it, you feel it, and you process it. And to me, that's what makes a game unforgettable. Now, the Star Wars Jedi series has been one full of controversies, but honestly, this game has so many cool and underlying themes that it hit me personally, and I've played these games multiple times. This was actually one of the first games I played on my PS5, and funny enough, I tried playing this game 3 separate times on my PS4, and every single time, it just didn't stick. I would start it, I'll lose interest, and I'll shelve it. I did this back and forth for a couple of months, and then finally I just decided to just not play it anymore for 3 years straight. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't tell you if it was the performance or the timing, or me not being ready for a game as emotionally deep as Jedi Fallen Order. But something just never clicked for me. And then I got my PS5 last summer, and I didn't have that many games yet because it's a brand new system. So I figured, why not load up the old game with the free update, and let's give it another shot on PS5. And I am so glad that I did. From the moment I finally committed to the game, Fallen Order pulled me in and it did not let go. Not because of the flashy lightsabers or the Star Wars name, because trust me, I am a huge fan, so those things definitely did help, but because this was one of the first games that made me think about fear differently. The story of Cal Kestis is heartbreakingly beautiful. He's a young Jedi who lived through Order 66. As we all know, that was one of the darkest moments in the Star Wars universe, and that trauma shaped everything about who he became. When we first meet him on Braca, he's hiding. He's working as a mechanic or a rigger, living in constant fear of being discovered. And this isn't just surface level danger. This is a kid who was so shattered about what happened when he was a child that he completely cut off a part of himself and forced it into a dark corner just to survive. It took him nearly losing his closest friend just to reawaken that part of himself. And that hit me hard because it wasn't just about using the Force again, like almost every other Star Wars trope. It was about someone who was so afraid to live as they truly are. Because using that part of yourself would put other people at risk, not yourself. That's a very human fear. You see it all the time in real life. People bury parts of themselves because of shame, because of trauma, or just the fear of being truly seen. And Cal's journey is about unlearning that fear. As the game progresses and you follow Cal across the galaxy, trying to unlock the secrets of the holocron that he finds, it becomes clear this isn't just a story about rebuilding the Jedi Order. It's about rebuilding yourself after you've been completely broken. And that brings us to one of my favorite parts of the game, and that's Marin. When Cal meets Marin on Dathomir, she's the last of her kind, the lone survivor after having her entire species wiped out, and she's angry, isolated, suspicious, and she obviously does not trust Cal when he lands on Dathomir. And why would she? Her entire existence has been shaped by pain and betrayal, but over time, something changes within her. She joins Cal and the rest of the crew, and not because she's fixed or healed magically, but because she's finally ready to open a door that has been shut for years. The crew of the Mantis becomes her new family, and in that, there's this beautiful subtle message about letting people in again after loss. And by the end of the Fallen Order, Cal has not only reconnected the Force, he's regained confidence. The confidence in himself and his purpose and the people around him. And that's what made the sequel, Jedi Survivor, hit even harder after playing this game. Because in Survivor, they take everything you built in the first game and just rips it all apart. Your newfound family, your growth, your sense of purpose, it's all gone. Right out of the gate, we see Cal on a mission without the Mantis crew. They've gone their separate ways, and this time, Cal is fighting alone. He's lost the family that he rebuilt, and now he's working for the Resistance, trying to do something good in a galaxy that's still falling apart. And if Fallen Order was about learning to live again, Survivor is about learning to live through loss. So to talk about the game, the first mission of the game goes sideways. A lot of the close friends he's made over the last couple of years, they die. He makes a new friend. He ends up betraying him throughout the story. Sayre, one of his closest friends from the Mantis, also dies in a brutal duel with Darth Vader. Then one of the masters who helped guide him on his new path, Cordova, is also killed in this process. And after all this trauma, after all this loss, it starts to bubble up to a point. And that's when something changes inside of Cal. And you can see it. The cracks are starting to form in his resolve. The light is dimming. He's starting to slide toward the dark side. And it doesn't come out of nowhere. It feels earned from playing the game. Cal has been fighting, sacrificing, and hoping, and the galaxy just keeps taking more and more away from him throughout the game. There's a moment in Survivor where Cal and Marin are finally reunited after years of being apart, and you can feel this tension. He wants to be with her and she wants to be with him, but he's still clinging on to the Jedi code, still trying to stay on the right path, even as his heart's pulling him in a complete new direction. That's the central conflict. What do you do when duty and love pull you in opposite direction? And that's why Bold's betrayal stings so much when it actually does happen in the game, because Cal sees himself in Bold, a father trying to protect what's left of his family, willing to do absolutely anything, even kill to keep them safe. It forces Cal to ask himself, how far is too far? Is survival enough if it means losing who you are in the process? By the time you get to the final acts of this game, Cal is bruised, broken, and barely holding on. He's touched the dark side. He's lost people he loved, but here's what got me. He doesn't give in. Even with everything working against him, the deaths, the betrayal, the trauma, he still makes the choice to keep helping, to keep fighting for something greater than himself. And that lesson stuck with me more than anything. It's not about never falling. It's about who you are when you get back up. Cal doesn't throw out his morals just because the world gets darker. He struggles, sure, but he never stops choosing to do the right thing, even when the cost is very high. And that's why I love these two games. They're not just about Star Wars power fantasies. They're honest portrayals of what it's like to live with loss, to rebuild yourself from trauma, and to hold on to hope when everything around you says not to. In a way, Fallen Order and Survivor aren't just stories about a young Jedi. They're stories about survival, yes, but also about resilience. If you've ever gone through something that made you question who you are, these games remind you that strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about having the courage to put yourself back together again. Spider-Man 2018 was a game that I recently just played. I didn't think it would hit me as much. I love Spider-Man, but the themes in this game are something that you absolutely have to take with you for the rest of your life. This game did way more than just let me experience what it felt like to really be Spider-Man. This is easily one of the best PlayStation exclusives in recent memory. But more than that, it's a game packed with emotional weight and real life lessons. Underneath the action and superhero spectacle is a story about choices, sacrifice, and what it really means to carry responsibility, even when the cost is personal. At this point, I'm pretty sure we all know the classic line, with great power comes great responsibility. It's one of the most iconic phrases in comic book history, but in Spider-Man 2018, that idea is pushed beyond just being a catchphrase. It becomes something Peter Parker is forced to live moment by moment for the entirety of the game. From the very beginning, you're juggling a lot. And I'm not talking about combat mechanics or side quests. Peter is up against nearly every single major villain in his rogue gallery of all of them, while trying to keep New York City from falling apart. But it's what's happening between the fights that makes this game really stand out. He's trying to patch things up with MJ, who's understandably frustrated with his constant disappearing acts. He's mentoring Miles Morales, who's going through the fresh grief of losing his father at the City Hall bombing. And on top of that, he's watching his mentor, the brilliant Dr. Octavius, slowly unravel into the villainous Doc Ock. Peter is caught in this impossible position, trying to save the city, support the people he loves, and stop someone who once felt like a father figure. And the game doesn't just let him win easily. There are moments where Peter looks completely overwhelmed, and rightfully so. Most people would have cracked under that kind of pressure. But Peter keeps showing up, not because it's easy, not because he's unbreakable, but because he knows what's at stake if he doesn't do it. The moment that broke me in this entire game, and I think it broke a lot of players when they first played it, was the final confrontation with Doc Ock. You spend so much of the game watching Otto spiral downward, seeing him lose himself to bitterness and rage, but when Peter finally confronts him on the Tower of Oscorp, it's not about winning a fight. It's about grieving a relationship. There's pain in Peter's voice, in his eyes, in every swing of his fist, because this isn't just a villain. This is someone he truly believed in, someone he saw himself becoming one day, someone who believed in him. And then comes the choice. After defeating Otto, Peter finally gets the anti-serum, the one thing that could cure the infection that's tearing through the city, but there's only one dose. There's only one life-saving shot. And in that moment, Peter has to make a choice. Save Aunt May, the last true family he has, or save the city. I want you guys to watch this scene. I remember just sitting there, frozen, watching this scene play out. Peter standing by her bedside, watching her fade, knowing he could stop it, but choosing not to. That decision shattered me. Not because it was unfair, but because it was so human. That's the thing about Spider-Man that this game absolutely nailed. It's not about having flashy powers. It's about the weight of doing the right thing, even when it hurts the most. And for Peter, losing Aunt May wasn't just another tragic beat. It was the culmination of a lifetime spent putting others before himself. It was a moment that forced the player to feel the true cost of being a hero. And honestly, that's the lesson I took away from Spider-Man 2018 more than anything. Sometimes doing the right thing means losing something that you love. Sometimes the decisions that benefit everyone leaves you with the heaviest burden. It's easy to make sacrifices when they're abstract, but when it becomes personal, when the choice stares you in the face, that's when it really counts. And Peter, he made the hard choice. He lived the mantra. The brilliance of this game is how it wraps up emotional punches in a story that still feels hopeful at the same time. Still makes you want to fight for what's right. Even after everything Peter loses, the game leaves you with a sense that being better is still worth it. And it brings us full circle to the message engraved in the platinum trophy for this game: be greater. It's not about perfection. It's not about never losing. It's about rising above, even when the world keeps trying to drag you down. That's why Spider-Man 2018 isn't just a great superhero game. It's a game about resilience, sacrifice, and the quiet strength of choosing others over yourself. Playing video games can be so much more than just passing time. They can make you feel something great. They can teach you things you didn't know you needed to learn. And sometimes they hit you harder than anything else in the real world. Expedition 33 explored grief in a way that felt deeply personal, showing a world stuck in denial and the damage that comes from running from your pain instead of facing it. Jedi Fallen Order showed us how trauma can make you hide from who you are, and how reconnecting with that part of yourself is the first step toward healing. Then Jedi Survivor took that even further, showing what it means to lose everything again, and then still choose to do the right thing, even when you're tempted by darkness. Finally, Spider-Man 2018 delivered one of the hardest truths: that being a hero sometimes means sacrificing the things you love the most. Not because you want to, but because you have to. Each of these stories left a mark on me. They reminded me that the best games just don't entertain, they reflect who we are and who we're becoming. So if you ever doubted whether video games can tell meaningful stories, these 4 prove that they absolutely can. If you like this video, YouTube thinks you enjoyed this next one as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.